I'm 85 years old. I've been sitting with this question for a long time, and only now do I think I understand why my children stopped calling. I don't say that with anger anymore. I say it the way you say something once you've stopped arguing with it. The house is quiet now, and the quiet has a way of letting the truth speak. I wake up early because my body does, not because I have anywhere to be. The mornings are the hardest. There's a stretch of time before the day settles where I feel the weight of everything I didn't finish. Not projects, conversations. I'm telling this because I don't have much time left, and because pretending I don't know would be another kind of lie. I don't need forgiveness. I'm not even sure that's possible anymore. I just want to say what I finally see. When you get to this age, people assume you're full of wisdom. The truth is, you're mostly full of memory. And memory doesn't organize itself neatly. It comes in pieces, smells, little scenes that replay when you're brushing your teeth or standing at the sink. I think about my children more now than I ever did when they were young. That's one of the cruel jokes of it. When they needed me most, I was busy being necessary somewhere else. I was in my late 20s when my first child was born. I remember holding him and feeling something like fear more than joy, not because I didn't love him, but because suddenly there was someone who needed me every day, not occasionally, every day. I had grown up believing that providing was the highest form of love. My father worked until his hands shook. He wasn't unkind, but he wasn't present either. We respected him. We didn't really know him. So when I became a parent, I did what I understood. I worked. I stayed late. I took extra shifts. I said yes when my boss asked and no when my kids asked, telling myself I'd make it up to them later. Later always sounded reasonable. We lived in a small house then, the kind where you can hear everything. Laughter from the living room, a door closing, footsteps on the stairs. I was home, but I wasn't there. I'd come in tired, drop my keys on the table, loosen my tie. My wife would tell me about their day, and I'd nod, half listening, already thinking about tomorrow. I told myself I was doing it for them. That was my shield. There were dinners I missed because of meetings that didn't matter. School plays I arrived late to, slipping into the back row so I wouldn't make a scene. I told myself it was better than not coming at all. I remember my daughter once asking if I could help her with a project. I said not tonight. I said tomorrow. She nodded, like children do when they're learning how disappointment works. Tomorrow came, and something else took its place. It always did. The thing about small moments is you don't feel them leaving. They just stop happening. One day they stop asking you for help. One day they don't wait for you to get home before they eat. I didn't notice that shift until much later. By the time I was in my 40s, I thought I had figured it out. The kids were older, I had more money, I could finally relax a little. I suggested trips, dinners out, time together. But by then they had their own lives, their own rhythms. They were polite, distant in a way that felt unfamiliar but not alarming. I told myself this was normal. Children grow up, they pull away. That's what they're supposed to do. I didn't ask them how they felt. Not really. I asked about grades, jobs, practical things, the same way my father had asked me. There were conversations that stayed on the surface because that's where I was comfortable.
Deep down, I think I was afraid of what I might hear if I asked the wrong question.
The cost didn't arrive all at once. It came quietly. A missed birthday call that I blamed on a busy week. A holiday spent apart that I said was fine. We'll do something next year. Next year has a way of disappearing. I remember the first time one of them didn't call on my birthday. I laughed it off, told my wife they were probably busy. She looked at me for a moment, then went back to the dishes. I should have paid attention to that look. My wife was the bridge between us. I see that now. She remembered things. She asked questions. She kept track of what mattered. When she got sick, the house changed in a way I wasn't prepared for. Illness has a way of stripping things down. There's no room for pretending when you're counting pills and doctor visits. During that time, the kids called more often. They visited. They sat with her. I was grateful. I was also distracted. I thought there would be time to talk later once things settled. She died on a quiet afternoon. The light was coming through the window just right. I held her hand and I told her I loved her. I wish I had said more things before that moment, things that didn't fit into a goodbye. After the funeral, the calls slowed. That didn't surprise me. Everyone goes back to their lives. I told myself I was fine. I wasn't alone. I had routines. What I didn't have were reasons for them to reach out. I had never learned how to be emotionally available without a crisis. I was good in emergencies. I was terrible in the ordinary moments that actually build closeness. Months passed, then years. I'd see pictures online, grandchildren growing, vacations I wasn't part of, smiles that didn't include me. I would comment sometimes, short messages, "Looks great, so proud." They responded politely, when they responded at all. I told myself they knew I loved them. That should be enough, right? Love, unspoken, assumed, carried like an old coat you don't think to check for holes. The turning point came in a small way, not dramatic, just a moment that settled heavy in my chest. I fell one winter morning, slipped on the front steps. I wasn't badly hurt, but I couldn't get up right away. I sat there, cold seeping in, thinking about who I would call. I realized I didn't know. I didn't want to bother them. That was the thought that came first. Not that they wouldn't care, that I didn't want to be an interruption. That's when it became clear. I had taught them over decades that I was busy, that my time was limited, that needs were something you managed on your own. They learned the lesson well. I managed to get inside eventually. I sat at the kitchen table and cried, which surprised me. I hadn't cried since my wife died. The tears felt old, like they had been waiting. I saw then that the distance wasn't a punishment, it was a pattern, one I helped create. There are things I can't fix now. I can't go back to that night my daughter wanted help. I can't sit in the front row of those plays. I can't become someone else in their memories. Time doesn't bend for regret. It just keeps moving, indifferent and steady. I've tried reaching out more. Sometimes it leads to a brief conversation. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't push. I've learned that pressure feels different when you're on the other side of it. What hurts the most is not being needed. Not because I deserve to be, but because I mistook being needed at work for being needed at home. And by the time I noticed the difference, it was too late. If you're listening to this and you're younger than me, I won't tell you what to do. I don't have that right. I'll just tell you what I believed and what turned out not to be true. I believed there would always be time to reconnect, that relationships could be paused and resumed like a project. They can't. I believed that providing was enough. It's important, yes, but it's not the same as being present. Presence doesn't show up on a paycheck. It shows up in memory. I believed that love, once established, would carry itself. Love needs tending, quietly, consistently, especially when nothing seems wrong. I don't blame my children for their silence. I think they're living the lives they learned to live, independent, self-contained, careful with their time. Sometimes I imagine what I would say if I had one uninterrupted hour with each of them. I don't rehearse speeches anymore. I think I'd mostly listen. I'd ask them what they remember, and I'd be ready to hear things that don't flatter me. I don't know if that will ever happen. I've made my peace with that uncertainty. Peace doesn't mean comfort. It just means you stop fighting what is. If this story means something to you, if it stirs a memory or a question, you can sit with it. You don't have to fix anything today. Just notice who you're postponing. As for me, I'll finish my mornings, I'll water the plants, I'll answer the phone when it rings, even if it's just a wrong number. I'm 85 years old. I finally understand why my children stopped calling. And understanding at this age is a quiet thing. It doesn't ask for anything back.